All right, we're live, everybody. So you got Tim and Doug back from One for All Social to talk about the current state of social media, where it's going, how it's going to get there, and more importantly, why you should probably be on more than one platform. So just like this live stream, we're sending out to three different platforms at the same time. You know, it's I think the weekend has taught us. Okay, some people learned over the weekend that if you're going to try to make a living on social media or use it to market your business, or even discuss a topic or connect with a community, it's probably best not to have all your eggs in one basket because that basket might go away.
I think that adage has been around before social media.
Sure, that had been around before social media. And it was actually funny because I reposted something over the weekend that was a Twitter post by Diane Franklin, who was in Better Off Dead. She was one of the princesses in Bill and Ted. She was the Swedish exchange student in Better Off Dead, and she said something to the effect of, I've been around a long time. Just because TikTok goes away doesn't mean that your life stops. You have other ways to get your message out. It's like I was on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, streaming. You go down the list of ways that data transfers. And you and I have been around. You and I are Gen X, right? I mean, I distinctly remember 8-track tapes when I was a kid. My dad in the attic had a reel-to-reel player. I remember. Well, you're a musician. Reel-to-reel is probably what you're going. Yeah, but anyway,
the 2-inch tape, not the held 1/2-inch, but yes,
exactly. It's the musicians are still like, no, go back to that. Anyway. But 8-track and LP were kind of how I grew up, and then cassette came along, and everybody had cassette, and then we all switched to CD, and that was the best thing ever. And then we switched to blue DVD, and then we switched to, there was the fight between VHS and Beta, right? And Beta lost. But media changes, things shift, and it's okay. There will be something else that comes in to fill that void, but you got to be ready for it, right? You can't just go with, well, TikTok shut down, that's the end of my streaming career, don't turn it off. Well, part of the reason for that is, if you look at, like, I like to go online, and nobody, whoever watches my feed is no mistaking, yes, I am the chief technology officer and founder of One for All Social. I'm a little into Dungeons and Dragons and sci-fi, as the Time Lord sweatshirt might tell you, and the only reason I'm wearing a sweatshirt on a thing like this is it's 20 degrees in Texas, and I'm sitting close to a window, and even Texas windows are going, dude, it's freaking cold. But if you're on just X, or if you're on just YouTube, if you're on just whatever, your demographics are limited. So Doug, you talk to people all the time. If you're trying to get a message out to the widest number of people, do you choose just one platform, or do demographics make a play?
No, demographics make a huge play. Now, I mean, you should be on as many platforms as possible, and when you start, you broadcast the same message out to all of them, so you can, and it's not going to be overnight. You need to check your analytics and see who's following and how your uptake is on each platform. But then what you'll find is, as you hit different demographics, then you can continue to take that message and then tweak it for each. But, back to the original at the top of this, again, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. The creators that have been on TikTok and solely TikTok, they're in trouble. And even though TikTok's back up at the moment, we don't know what the future holds. And it is not hard to take that content and go ahead and repost it over to Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts, or Facebook Reels, or many of the other platforms as well. So you may need to tweak your messaging, but you still want to reach out to everybody. You may hit a market that you don't even know that you're trying to hit. Yeah.
And so TikTok, especially, let's dig into that one a little bit, because I spent a good part of yesterday and the day before trying to figure out what the heck is going on and which end is up. Because if you're in the social media space and have tools like ours, TikTok went dark for a couple hours there, and we were like, okay, this is going to be fun, because our system is a couple million lines of code, and trying to pull TikTok out of it is not a small undertaking. It takes a little time because it's everywhere. But TikTok, the law says, divest yourself 100%, divest yourself to some U.S. company or be banned. I was operating from an early version of that law because I'm a physicist, and I read an early version of it, not the final version, because I didn't know where to look. But one of the powers of social media, somebody on Twitter pointed out, dude, you're looking at the wrong version. Go, here's the final. And some lawyer chimed in and told me where to look. The law actually does say if you haven't divested yourself by the 19th, which was yesterday, you can get a one-time 90-day deferral or pushback, however you want to put it. You get 90 days if the president says so. The president came out and said so, at least the president elected, and they turned it back on. So it was down for 6 hours, which my daughter was upset because they took CapCut down with it, and now CapCut's back. So everybody's happy. My 12-year-old is pleased.
Peace in your home.
Peace in my home. Thank you for turning CapCut back on. But it still has to divest itself. So it gets 90 days. And if you read the law, it says thou shalt have an offer and all kinds of, I put the thou shalt part, but legally it says you must have an offer and all this other stuff. And it's 100% divestment. It's not like a 51-49. It comes to somebody who's here. And I don't think there's two things about that if you're a creator that should look a little bit wonky. Yes, TikTok will survive. The name will be there. But it's like when Datsun and Nissan merged, right? The name is there, but is it the same car? If I'm ByteDance, I'm not going to let go of the algorithm. And I think everybody's figured that out, right? So the algorithm's going to change. And that algorithm is what allows creators to kind of be seen. Step number one. Step number two, a lot of people have found it easier to make a couple $100, $1,000. Jake Paul made millions on TikTok. I know. Tyson in his prime versus just let it go. But Jake Paul and others made millions. The payout rate is almost assuredly going to change. Because if it's in the hands of somebody else, they may not like the financials that ByteDance has set up, right? Because who knows what they were basing them on, because it's a Chinese-owned company. We don't see their financials. It's someplace else. And, for better or worse, they could be losing hundreds of millions of dollars. We don't know because we haven't seen their financials. So somebody who buys it is likely going to change that payout rate.
Not only that, but from what I understand, as far as from what I've heard from creators I talk to, TikTok is the lowest paying one as far as monetization.
It is, but I found it one of the easier ones to get decent numbers of views.
Sure.
So it does pay lowest per view, but it's easier to get more views, which, take that for what it's worth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the payout per view is lower, but the views get higher, which offsets each other. But that's, again, a reason to go off and divest across multiple platforms. Well, even X is now paying out at some point at some level that I still don't completely understand, because they keep changing the way they calculate the payout. Like my account is my personal account is monetized now, and my last payout was $12. So I'm rich and I can go to Starbucks once. If I take my kids, I still have to fork out $10. But they made a whole $12. But it's been as high as like 200, so it kind of flops around. And what's funny is my metrics are better now than when I made $200, but I think they've just kind of adjusted it somehow, and I don't know. But it's still kind of finding its way. YouTube is pretty solid. They haven't really changed their payouts in a while. Instagram, the rest of them are kind of whatever they're going to be. But I feel anyway that if you're going to be in the social space, you've got to understand the demographics of all the platforms, and you've got to understand the utility of each. And what I mean by that, and I'm going to use Grok, and I could easily use ChatGPT. It doesn't matter. I'm going to use Grok to do something real fast.
Current demos and stats.
Yeah, current demographics. So you can look this up with ChatGPT. You can use Grok, and any of the large language models are actually pretty good for this sort of thing. What are the age and gender breakdowns of the X users? I guess I should probably use proper grammar. I think it's funny that people pick on ChatGPT for having bad grammar. Mine's worse. All right. Age demographics. According to various sources, the most active group on X is between 18 and 34. Posts suggest that, break it out, blah, blah, blah. So, and you could do this for any platform. Now, notice global data shows that 60% of X users are male. I've been tracking this for about 5 years, and that's actually down. It was almost 80% at one point. So it's made headway with pulling female users in. And if you look at the others, if you look at Instagram or Facebook or some of the others, some of them are close to 50-50. Pinterest is heavily weighted towards women because it just is. That's sort of its thing. X for a long time was heavily weighted towards men. It's making inroads to bring that down. But the biggest of the big, which is Instagram and Facebook, are still 51-49. They tend to skew a little older. But if your audience tends to be older and not, very, very young, which is, 18 to 34 on social media is kind of the youngest of the young, right? That's X and TikTok and others. Older is Instagram and Facebook and things like that. More professional is LinkedIn. So I'm not going to go talk about Dungeons and Dragons on LinkedIn unless I can tie it back to my job somehow, because it's just the platform. But everything has its own deal. And so I started talking about this over the weekend, and some people were like, "Oh, great, but it takes forever to try to post everywhere." So Doug, you want to pull up our system, and
Sure.
and here I'll send you an image you can use, and you can post this to the company accounts. But let's alter it for each one, because Gen X, I think, all got their start of music, and if you had any exposure to opera, it was through this picture I'm going to send Doug, so we can. If you're Gen X and you were exposed to opera at an early age, we know exactly how you were exposed to it, and I have an image to demonstrate that. So we can modify it for each platform. Doug, you're going to know that image the second you see it.
Let me just get to it. Is my screen live just yet?
Oh, it is now. So that's Doug's screen. This is the One for All social system. I was the founder. Doug's our ops guy. We've got other people running around. The thing you're going to see is how to get around to every platform easily. And the fun part about it is, unlike some of the other stuff that's in the social media management space, everything you see here works on both desktop as well as mobile. And unlike some of the other guys that are 100 to 150 to 250 bucks a month, what are we at? $24.99, I think. So yeah, we're significantly less expensive than some of the other groups. So yeah, our base package is $24.99 still. So can't beat it for the price.
All right,
Doug,
so you want me to post to where I can post this image?
Yeah, sure. Send it out to our company platforms. It just, it's fine.
I just posting the multiple. Do you want me to use anything else?
No, just let's go through and look at each platform, because I want to talk through some of the differences in between the audience and how to really get that right post for
There's
each
some
one.
features I'm skipping over here, but we have a Write For Me function that uses Chat GPT, auto hashtags, which will be your best friend in finding new users. But
well, we're going to use hashtags on each platform. We're going to do it, but we're going to do it by platform, because I want to make a point.
So yeah, you write your basic overarching idea description here for your text and your post. Upload whatever media you want. In this case, we're going to be doing an image.
This is how I learned about opera. You can pick on me if you want, but that's how I learned about opera, was Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd.
So there it is. All right, now we're going to edit by platform. So we start at the top with Facebook. It will call out if there's any issues or errors that you need to address as you go through, but here's our Facebook post.
All right. So for Facebook, it's an older audience. It tends to be 50-50 men, women. So, for Facebook, you could say something like, "Hey, Gen X, remember when you learned about opera from this guy?" It was either that or the Spear and Magic Helmet. I do love that Bugs never threw the first punch in an argument, but also never lost.
And we use the auto hashtag tool.
Yeah. Now, what are we on, Facebook or Instagram? Facebook. So with Facebook, you can use as many hashtags as you want. The system doesn't care. And what our tool does is it goes through and reads your post and says, okay, based on your post, what hashtag should I use to kind of fit with that? So you don't have to think about it. It's using a predictive analytic. Yeah, curious. That, hey, if you're my age and you wanted to learn about opera, that's where you learned it, was from Bugs Bunny, when he was fighting with Elmer Fudd. But Facebook will let you use as many hashtags as you want. It doesn't downgrade you. If you want to post a link, you got to put it in the first comment. If you put it in the post, your stuff's never going to get seen. So is what it is. And you actually get a lot more space in a Facebook post than you do in some of the others. So you can go pretty far. So which
And
one
just
are we
to
doing?
do a little comparison here back on Facebook. You see, we get 63,000 characters, 60.
Yeah, you can write a book on Facebook. It's not going to care. Instagram, you know, I'm not sure anybody truly reads all the captions on them, to be honest. I think people just look at the pictures mostly. But maybe throw the word Gen X in there or something and whatnot, because that one tends to get searched a lot. Use a different set of text because it is a different audience. It tends to skew a little bit younger than Facebook, but a little bit older than TikTok, somewhere in that middle. And again, you can come up with the right hashtags for it. And we give you the first choice and then a bunch of others. So, you know, it's which ones fit, just pick them. And again, our system is smart enough that if it finds a word that's syntactically correct or kind of fits what you're doing, and it's not in there, like one day I was putting France and Germany for some reason, and it said hashtag Europe, but I didn't have Europe anywhere in the post. It figures all that stuff out. So you don't have to. All right, Instagram, nobody on LinkedIn. Yeah, just put certain ages, learn something business-like. I'll leave it to you. What's funny is some of the people in our company are going to see this and call me and be like, what the?
I will take it down after the fact.
Oh, man, let's leave that one up. I like Bugs, man. Especially when he's having it out with Elmer. I did learn something about Looney Tunes the other day, and that's Yosemite Sam has a twin brother. Showed up in only one cartoon. He had a black beard instead of red. It was the only real difference. He was still angry all the time.
So again, the platform does call out if there's something special you need to do for the platform, if there's an error with any of your media. So here we go. Pinterest board needs to be selected.
Yeah, so Pinterest, like I said, I don't really get it. You have to select a board or something. I don't know.
It's part of Pinterest functionality.
But it apparently, as somebody told me once, I'm not supposed to understand it because I'm a boy. It was one of our users told me that.
And now
Killed a wabbit.
Threads.
Now, Threads, this is one of the places I want to make a point. Threads is essentially Meta's answer to X. Okay. And Threads, you can put as many hashtags in there as you want. However, it will only count the first one. Okay. So you stick them in there, don't stick them in there, it doesn't matter. But whatever one goes first is the only one it's going to look for. So I would stick with one and, you know, kind of write a descriptive post so that if people are keyword searching, they can do that too. But again, Threads is more keyword searchy based. Now, also out of any of the algorithms I've come across, Threads is probably the most sensitive. If you go in and like on your first post and go, I want to connect with, and put out the list of people you want to connect with, that is all that's going to show up in your feed. Now, the moment you post about something else or interact with a different post, it's going to dominate and take over. So its algorithm is shockingly sensitive to the last thing you did. So you got to be careful on that one to just focus on your desired areas. Otherwise, you're going to go down rabbit holes that never stop. Rabbit holes, Bugs Bunny, rabbit.
All right, now we're on to our favorite X.
Do not use a hashtag on X. You only use keywords on X now. Elon Musk has decided that he doesn't like the look of the pound sign, so he actually is downgrading posts that have it. But the keyword is still important because keyword searches work. By the way, the system works with video. You can send YouTube videos out. You send TikTok videos out. Doesn't matter. It works with any of it. In a release next year, we're actually going to have it where if you have an image, it can extract hashtags from the image without you having to write a post. So it'll do that. And we'll have image generation tools as well.
So once you get through setting it up for each platform, you get one final review and confirm where you can see the preview, what it's going to look like on each platform. You can always click back to any one of these if you want to make additional edits. But then you can schedule it or you can post it right away.
Just click post. Now it's going out to all the platforms because we're sending it to 6 of them. It'll take a minute for it to do that because it's sending it to every platform and waiting for responses from each one. If you schedule it into the future, you just say schedule it for 2:00. You don't see this screen. It just says, cool, it's scheduled. And then it just sends it out. So we had an error.
If the errors, you can go back and take a look at those.
Yep. So we had an error in a couple places, but you can go back and fix it. My guess is we didn't crop the image properly. But yeah.
Oh, I need to reconnect some accounts. That's all there is to it.
Oh, see, Doug didn't connect all the accounts properly, so I'm going to blame the operator this time.
There we go.
But anyway, that's the system. That's how it works. Everything works from mobile as well as from desktop. And we do try to keep up with all the algorithms and send that out to all of our users when there's a shift in one and say, hey, look, we noticed this shift, go forth and prosper. We do have, I'll pull mine up just because I know mine's pretty active, at least in a couple of ways. And even I'm active across a number of platforms, but even I'm not active across all of them, mostly because I just haven't figured out Pinterest. All right, so we do have a scheduler where you can go off and set your daily schedule. So I've got a bunch of posts actually scheduled to go out today, which will not shock anybody if you watch any of my feeds. I tend to post very actively, but I do kind of have a system for that. Also, this analytics section is your absolute best friend. It will allow you to go through and look at how your different accounts are doing. So like this is the back end of my Threads account. So in the last 28 days, across that date range, I've had 11,000 views. In the previous 28 days, I had 3,800. You can look at audience breakdown. It'll tell you kind of what audience I'm attracting, which, apparently I'm about even on men and women. My age bracket tends towards 35 to 44. So younger than me. Come on, Gen X, you got it. That's not nice. I need more Gen Xers in there. But the insight section is the cool part. What this does is it analyzes your account and it tells you your best day to post, your best type of post, and your best frequency to post, and that'll get you your best timeline placement. And it actually shows you the data on how close they are. So like for me, once daily and 3 times daily are pretty close. A couple of days ago, it actually had a different answer there. So apparently my account has shifted a little bit since then. And you could go through and do that for any of your accounts. So like on my YouTube, it'll pull up how my YouTube account is doing. So there we go, YouTube. So my views are up, my comments are the same, my total likes are up. Hey, my dislikes are up. Not shocking, because if your likes go up, your dislikes are probably going to go up too. Because not everybody's going to like everything you have to say. But as somebody who works in the space, if one platform goes down and you're only on that platform, you've put all your eggs in one basket, and that's hard. But I think the point we're trying to make is that there are tools out there for not much money, for $25 a month, that will allow you to cross post across all platforms and stay current everywhere without a whole lot of extra effort. And you can even do it from mobile phones. So we were showing off the desktop app. We've got an iOS and Android as well, and it helps you kind of get your message out across all demographics. That's kind of all I had to talk about today. That hey, just because one platform goes away doesn't mean it's the end of the social media world. But this is not the last bit of drama we've seen out of TikTok. So do not think it's safe for all time. It is a 90-day thing. My guess is, if just based on how it's been presented, there's a hip pocket deal someplace that somebody's already got. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made this big a deal out of it. But because it is only 90 days, and selling something that big takes a long time. So my guess is somebody's already got it most of the way down the road. We'll find out in the next week or so. So, and as we find out more, Doug or I will try to post to the company platforms as well as mine that say, hey, look, here's what's going on with TikTok if we hear anything.
For sure.
Anything?
Yeah,
anything to add, Doug? Did I miss anything?
No, I think we're good. And I did find the issue there was a reconnecting of the account. So we're all good.
All right. So sometimes your account's going to disconnect, whether you change a password or something happens, you have to reconnect them. And that was the error we had was just reconnecting account. And our system will actually send up little red flags and put it in the notification sections when you do something wrong, and allow you a chance to go fix it. In fact, I can show you on mine. I am not, even though I've been with this thing since the start. If you look at my scheduler, let me share my screen again. I always forget to do that part. You can ask Doug. I will routinely talk about stuff that I think I'm sharing, and I'm not, because I messed up.
We're not
occasionally,
all
yeah. nobody seems to mind reminding me of it. Occasionally, you will get a post that doesn't deliver because of an error message. You'll get a failure, and it either shows up here under posts, or if you're in your scheduler and you had one that didn't post, it'll show up in here as red. So blue is stuff going out later, green is stuff that went out, and red is stuff that didn't post. But if you had one that had an error, typically it's because you changed the password over at the platform, or occasionally you'll get one that I didn't crop exactly right for Instagram, and it errored out. So you notice all my errors are Instagram. It'll show up here, and you can actually go in and clone that post and fix whatever the error was and be done with it. So we've tried to make it super crazy easy for you. Anyway, that's all we had today. The drama with TikTok is not over. There will be more because it's only got 90 days, and I guarantee you there will be more news on this thing. But my advice to everybody is to be active across platforms, as many of them as you can, if you really want to make those connections. And if you're in the RPG space, you're like, well, X is where the action is. There's a lot of it over on Threads. There's a ton of it over on YouTube. There's a lot of it's everywhere. You just have to find your right audience, and that's what systems like ours help you do with all the hashtag tools. It helps you find that right audience. So, all right, anybody has any questions, you can always find me on any of the social platforms. Our website is o4a.com. And if you email through that, it goes straight to Doug, not to some overseas place. So 75, 80 people need to email Doug in the next hour just for funny. I'm just kidding.
I'll read them. I'll respond to every one of them. Might take me a minute, but I will get back to you within 24 hours.
Yeah. So anyway, o4a.com it's in both the app stores. Check it out, and we'll try to keep you as updated as we can. All right. Thanks, everybody. End stream.